RetroDaze.
Often, our identity is intrinsically connected to our interests. This truth sticks with us throughout life, but is never so obvious as when we were young. If you had a favorite band, you wore their t-shirts and sewed their patches onto your backpack. If you had a favorite television show or movie, you bought the lunchbox and put their stickers on your school folders. However, one display of obsession outweighed them all and was usually reserved for only your most treasured interests: joining the fan club.
There was nothing quite as exciting as receiving a membership card in the mail, and if you were really lucky, maybe some other official merch as well. In this new mini-series, we'll navigate many popular fan clubs of decades past, starting today with the 1970s. Fan clubs emerged long before the 70s, of course, and we'd be negligent in our duties to not recall the brief history of their rise in popularity. The word fan itself has a hazy origin. Contemporarily, many consider it to be a shortened form of fanatic, since fans can be obsessive about their interests. But an older explanation suggests it's a shortening of the word fancy, used in this case to mean when a person takes a liking to something. Nailing down the first official fan club is equally difficult, especially when fans emerged for several interests at different times in history and for varying reasons. However, it does seem clear that our old friend the Industrial Revolution once again had a large part to play, as it helped to create cultural pastimes that were more accessible as well as more heavily marketed. With these commercialized aspects often front and center, people with a particular interest, the newly emerging fans, sought to interact on a more personal level with the artists they admired, breaking through the barrier of cold and impersonal commercialization. According to Daniel Cavici in his article Fans and Fan Clubs, fans were those who refused to accept the limited and temporary participation afforded by the purchase of cultural experiences. They sought alternative means of participating in popular culture that involved lasting personal connection and depth of feeling. Mass communication in the 20th century was the next stepping stone to organized fan clubs, as it seemed to place yet another barrier between performers and the audience. This disconnect fostered further mystery, which in turn fueled a fan's desire to know more. Paradoxically, these same communication technologies, the television, radio, and record player, allowed for a perceived intimacy, as you could now enjoy varied forms of entertainment in the privacy of your own home. As fans sought to display their devotion publicly, the formation of the first fan clubs started in the 1920s for movie stars such as Shirley Temple and quickly spread to all other forms of popular culture. Before we get to our list, one last distinction is important, and that is the difference between a fan club and an official fan club. Simply put, fan clubs were often started by enthusiastic fans and would often have limited, if any, access to the artists, performers, and management. Official fan clubs, on the other hand, were run by the marketing team of said performer or artist. These clubs were usually more prominently advertised, and while regular fan clubs might have merchandise, the merch from an official fan club was licensed. Some of the most prominent fan clubs of the 1970s were related to bands and musicians. One such club was the Kiss Army, which interestingly was an official fan club that started out as unaffiliated. Bill Starkey and Jay Evans formed the Kiss Army in 1975. According to Evans, he opted for the name because he thought Army sounded better than Kiss Fan Club, a little less wimpy. After being teased at school that their favorite band wasn't even being played on the radio, the two teens began calling the local station to demand airtime. Rich Dickerson, the program director for West Terre Haute's WVTS, recognized a good marketing gag when he heard one and painted himself as the heel of this emerging radio drama. The local teens would call in, send letters, and even threaten the station, all while Dickerson teased the so-called Kiss Army and continually refused to play Kiss on air. Eventually, Dickerson did give the band airtime, of course, and by this point the fan base had grown so large that the band's management team began getting in touch with the radio station directly. The Kiss Army also played an instrumental role in a sold-out show coming to the new Holman Civic University Center in Terre Haute, resulting in the band's bringing Starkey on stage to receive a plaque, and Evans having a banner he made featured on stage and eventually signed by the entire band. Following the concert, the Kiss Army became the official fan club of the band in 1976, with many on Kiss's management and marketing teams helping to create merchandise and spread awareness. The Army is still in existence, and you can join for $50, which gets you membership plus an official shirt and pin. The Kiss Army was far from the only prominent fan club for bands and musicians. The list of other clubs is enormous, but includes the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Queen, ABBA, the Jackson 5, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and David Bowie. Nailing down a single fan club to discuss Star Trek fandom, affectionately called Trekkies, turned out being harder than you might think, which makes sense for a sprawling series that has existed over many decades and boasts millions of fans. Star Trek Interstellar, the official Star Trek fan club, was the first established by Gene Roddenberry in 1968, but only lasted for 1 year. Making things a little tricky for our list, the next official Star Trek fan club technically did start in 1979, but was initially founded as an unofficial Star Trek the Motion Picture fan club with only 15 members, and later renamed Star Trek II the Movie Fan Club upon the second movie's release. Like the previous fan club, this one, despite using the term official, was not affiliated with the production team. In 1983, Paramount Pictures obtained a copy of the club's fanzine, which they did not own the rights to publish. Rather than sue, Paramount offered a contract, and the club became official. In the 1970s alone, there were at least another 100 unofficial Star Trek fan clubs formed, including such names as Star Trek Nuts, High Steppin' Trekkies, McCoy's Scribes, the Mile High Starship, and Starbase. The current official fan club is called Starfleet International. Among other benefits, members get a membership card, a membership certificate, and quarterly issues of the Starfleet newsletter, Communique. Like Star Trek, the fan base for our next pick, Doctor Who, is enormous. Whovians, as fans of the series are known, began the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, DWAS, in the mid-70s and started publishing the official magazine of the club, TARDIS, later renamed Celestial Toy Room, in 1976. Doctor Who fanzines did exist prior to this, though they were often simple photocopied pamphlets and faded out as the years went on. Although DWAS was not an official fan club and held no copyrights, it was nonetheless recognized as the official face of Doctor Who fandom by the BBC production office. The club even began the first Doctor Who convention in 1977. According to the DWAS website, the society has been in existence for over 30 years and operates independently of the Doctor Who production office. Upon joining, you will receive a membership card. The current one has been specially commissioned and painted by Alistair Pearson. Membership also comes with a subscription to the monthly magazine and access to the e-zine. Not to be outdone by science fiction television shows, Star Wars also had an official fan club, which was started in 1979 by Craig Miller. Unlike some of the other clubs, like the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, the official Star Wars fan club was for profit and not run by fans. After being restructured under the umbrella of Black Falcon Limited, Miller stated in a public letter that the official Star Wars fan club is not being run to make money, it's being run as a service to those fans of Star Wars who care enough and are interested enough to join. The money being taken in through membership fees will be going back as member benefits. On the other side of the spectrum was the First Order of the Jedi Knights Intergalactic, which was the first known Star Wars fan club, though only active from 1977 to 1978. Members of this club received a membership card as well as a subscription to the monthly newsletter, The Force. Though the vast majority of fan clubs in the 1970s were related to science fiction, specifically Star Trek in most cases, there were at least a couple that were established in honor of the fantasy genre. While both I'll mention today were technically started in the late 60s, they functioned throughout the entirety of the 70s and are still in operation today. The first is the more broadly themed Mythopoeic Society, which, according to fanlore.org, is a non-profit international literary and educational organization for the study, discussion, and enjoyment of fantastic and mythic literature, especially the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and Charles Williams. Members enjoy the annual zine Mythprint, formerly Mythilany. They used to send out print membership cards as a matter of course, but now require you to request the card if you'd like one. Similarly, print copies of the magazine cost more than the digital counterpart. The other club is the Tolkien Society, founded in 1969. They established 2 publications, including a bi-monthly nonfiction newsletter, Amon Hin, founded in 1972, and an annual zine, Malorn, founded in 1970. Membership in this club gives you the option of a print or digital subscription as well. In a somewhat meta turn of events, there was even a fan club for fan clubs called the National Association of Fan Clubs, established in 1977. Of course, the NAFC wasn't really a fan club so much as a non-profit organization created to help create and promote other clubs. For instance, they'd keep an ongoing list of all operating fan clubs and help new ones get established. The organization also had a newsletter for members.
As kids, if we joined a fan club, there's a high probability that the physical benefits ranked at the top of our reasons to enlist. The patches, pins, membership cards, stickers, t-shirts, and newsletters made us feel like we were part of something bigger. And getting to show the world, displaying our interests proudly, is something many of us still do today. Stay tuned for future installments when we'll cover fan clubs of the 80s and 90s. But while we wait, tell me, did you join any fan clubs as a kid? If so, why? Was it for the perks or due to true dedication? I would love to hear about it down in the comments, and if you enjoy our content, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and maybe even activating that ubiquitous notification bell. It really does make a huge difference. Let's meet again next week to celebrate yesteryear right here on RetroDaze.
Clicky clacky.